All right. Good morning, everybody. Hope really everybody had a good Fourth and enjoyed some fireworks last night. So let's go ahead and get started here. Wanted to mention, after yesterday or between Wednesday's office hours and today's, I saw a lot of questions being posted off office hours, basically. So I wanted to mention that really only questions that are being asked during the office hours are going to get answered. And the reason I do that is just I want to make sure that people who are asking the questions are here to see them get answered. So if you're asking a question at 11 o'clock at night or something like that, that's most likely not going to get answered during the office hours. So basically what I'm doing right now is I'm choosing people, or not necessarily choosing, but I'm starting to answer questions from people that are posting them up to an hour before. So Scott W, if you're on here, John D, Jeff L, Joe A, you're posting questions when office hours are not in session. So if you're on here, go ahead and repost there, repost that, and then we'll get that answered. But I'll start here with Thomas K. Says he's new to the program. And for the 1,000 reps, the lesson says to do a swing with the correct setup, swings tilted in front, and swings tilted with too much tilt. Of the 1,000 reps, do you alternate every swing or do several the correct way and then adjust in incorrect versions and then repeating them in a 1, 2, 3 sequence? So I would do one too much, one too little, and then one right in between. That's what I'd be doing. Alternate between those three. You don't want to be getting to where you're doing too many here and then you do too many there. I mean, you can do them in groups. You could do, 4 or 5 too much, 4 or 5 too little, and 4 or 5 in between. But you want to be alternating. I wouldn't do, all of them at one time in the tilted away, and then all of them at one time too much tilt, and then all of your normal tilt ones. I'd be alternating a certain amount between all of those. So hopefully that helps, Thomas. Matthew Yu says, can you give a good drill to start the downswing with the start of the body instead of the arms? Yes, and I actually give this drill in every single office hours. I think I've mentioned this, and it's what's called the step drill. And this is a great drill. And I'll tell you where you can find it on the website, but I'll do a quick demonstration really quick here. So basically, I gotta angle the camera down just a little bit. So basically what we're doing in this step drill is we're forcing our momentum to be moving forward. And then we're also getting a good idea of what the kind of pressure that we want to be feeling into the ground. Because a lot of times people have poor sequencing in the swing. They don't know how to start the downswing because they don't have a proper weight shift. They're not shifting their weight. They're hanging back or they're sliding. They're not using their legs enough. So this drill is really, really good for that. So what we're doing here in this step drill is we're going to start out with our feet together. So feet maybe just a couple inches apart. And what we're going to do is as soon as this club starts going back, as soon as we start pulling this club back, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be stepping forward. So that's going to force us to get our momentum moving forward a lot sooner in the swing. Now, this is sooner than what it would be in the actual swing, but we're trying to exaggerate a feeling to help you get your momentum, forcing your momentum going forward. Because a lot of times when I see people, they get up to the top and then now they're getting, and by that time their arms are already going, it's too late. Your arms are just going to outrace your body. So by the time you're at the top of the swing, you need to start feeling pressure in your lead leg so that you can use your legs to rotate and start that downswing properly. Have that proper sequence coming through impact. So again, you're starting with your feet together. You're going to start that club going back. As soon as you're starting going back, you're going to be going up to the top of the swing. And I can't really do it completely. This is a glass board, and I'm afraid I'm going to hit it. But as you're going up to the top, your foot should be landing on the ground as you're starting your downswing. So you're getting that pressure into the ground. You're getting your momentum moving forward. And now you can really push into the ground to be able to rotate open as you're coming through. So I would do a bunch of those. What's good about that drill is that you don't have to go to the driving range to do it. You can do this in your backyard. If you have space, you can do it in your house, in the air conditioning. I know it's really hot and rainy in a lot of places across the U.S. So work on that in your backyard, getting that proper feeling. And then when you go to take some practice swings, take some normal stance practice swings where you're trying to replicate that same feeling. I'm going up the top. All right. As I'm going up the top, my momentum's kind of moving forward. And now before I start that downswing, I'm getting some pressure in that lead leg. And now I can lead with the lower body. So highly recommend working on that step drill. I think it's in several videos on the website, but one really great video that it's the video on how to start the downswing. And it sounds like that's pretty much exactly what you're looking for there. How to start the downswing is the video that you're looking for. So if you look for, there's actually a great search engine on the website. In the upper right-hand corner, there is a search box. If you just search the word downswing, you'll get this video to come up. I believe it's the third video down, and it's called How to Start the Downswing. It has a thumbnail that has some yellow lettering in it. Click on that video. That's going to be the one. Clay's going to demonstrate that step drill for you so you can see what's going on. And you can learn some other things, too, on how to start the downswing. So, Matthew, highly recommend working on that video to help you with what you're working on. All right. So David W. says, Q, I'm showing my original question so others can see it. I've done thumbs up, palm back, which seems straightforward. Turn the knob. For some reason, it censored knob. That's odd. Turn the knob is a little more difficult for me. But more than that, how do you coordinate all three? Your answer made sense, but can you please walk me through it, the sequence? Thanks. So David W. has asked this question in the past, and I just answered it for him. But basically, what I was talking about in my response to him is essentially he's thinking, okay, I got to have thumb up. So I'm thinking my thumbs are turning back to me. I got to do that, right? And now I got to have palm back. So that's the trail hand. I got to have that palm back. I got to have that feeling. And then I also got to do this. So we're talking all these movements of the wrists I've got to do here to make this club to do what I want it to do. And all three of those things are hard to think about at the same time. But if you boil it down to just what is the club doing, what is the one movement I want the club to do, it makes it a lot simpler. When we talk about thumbs up, palm back, turning the doorknob to the right, those are all breaking down the movement of the wrists. But we want to have it all put together so that it's really just one movement. And that one movement is this. That one movement is that right there. So I'm doing thumbs up. I'm turning the doorknob to the right. So the club's moving in this direction. So as you're going up to the top, it's that right there. So thumbs are up, palm is back, and the club is rotating right. So you just have to have this club to where it's shallowed out. That's the movement right there. So if you look at it from this angle, I'm trying not to hit my glass board here. So it's that, okay? So I'm thumb up, I'm palm back. You can't really see the rotation, but that's the movement, okay? If I look at it from this direction, it's up here, and then it's that. That's shallowing out the club. That's a turning the doorknob to the right. That's thumb up. That's palm back. It's all that movement. So focus on what this is doing, what you're trying to get the club to do. You're trying to get the club in a position to where you can work it down into impact and have forward shaft lean, a square club face, a club path, that is in good shape. Being able to hit the ball before the ground. All of that position there is really going to help you do that. Really, I think the best drill for this is the tennis racket drill, and that's from the move section. That drill there, if you focus on the smaller pieces of it, the broken down pieces of it at first to understand, okay, exactly what you're doing, and then put them all together by thinking about just what this piece is doing, what the club is doing, by what the movement of the club is doing, then that makes it a lot easier to put it all together. So that's why I recommend think about what this is doing. This is really what matters, what the club is doing, and that'll help you a lot more moving through. So David, I hope that demonstration kind of helps you understand exactly what you're trying to do there. But think about, watch what the club does when you create all those movements. When you break them down and do it really slow, watch what the club does and be like, okay, well, I just need to move the club like that. Well, now that's just one thing, right? That's just one thing I have to do. It's not three things at the same time. You're doing all three things at the same time by doing that one movement. So hopefully that makes sense for you, and it'll help you with your golf game. All right, let's keep on moving through here. So David D says, best drill to train keeping the left arm straight in the golf swing. So David, first of all, I do not subscribe to the fact that you have to keep the left arm straight in the golf swing. I just don't think it's that important. I've done swings where I've kept my lead arm straight. I've done swings where I just feel comfortable and let my arm bend a little bit naturally. And I tell you what, I do a lot better with what my natural movement is. So just to talk about what the lead arm straight is and why I think people think that you have to keep the lead arm straight. One is people think that consistency wise, it's more consistent. Well, theoretically, I would agree with that. It can make you be more consistent, because you're taking a lever out of there. It's more consistent in a sense that, you don't have this breakdown in the lead arm. But the problem with that is that some people, they keep their lead arm so straight that it's like a rigid type movement, and they don't have a lot of feel from that. So in that sense, it's actually making you less consistent, right? So that's neither here nor there, the consistency theory. Also width, right? So longer arm, you're creating a wider arc, you're creating more width. So that is true. You are going to create a wider width than if your arm was bent as you're going up to the top or in the downswing. That is true. But if your arm is bent, now I have a longer arc. So instead of a wider arc, I have a longer arc. That pretty much cancels it out right there. There's really no advantage. You can have a longer arc and create more speed, or you can have a wider arc and create more speed. And usually what I see is people, they get that arm bending and then they straighten it out in the downswing. So they're getting a longer arc and then they create that wider arc. So I would recommend, David, do what comes naturally to you, feel what comes naturally. I would not work on something that's not going to help your golf game that much. It's not going to make that much of a difference. Now, if you find that, hey, you hit the ball so much better when you have a straight lead arm versus a more of a bent lead arm at some point in the swing, then yeah, absolutely, that might be something to work on. As far as drills to work on that, there are some training aids that they have out there that you can put on your lead arm that it'll give you an audible click whenever you bend that lead arm. So that will make it a little bit easier to train that. But what I would do is I would just take some swings where you're keeping that lead arm straight, go nice and slow at first, pause at some key checkpoints, maybe look at your swing on camera and see where you're bending that lead arm. Where is that lead arm getting bent? Where's the breakdown? Where's that happening? And then I would actually do some practice swings where you're pausing at those checkpoints to make sure, okay, am I getting this breakdown? Making sure that lead arm is straight. And if you use that training aid, it can also help you give you that audible click when you start to speed things up. So I would do some pausing at those key checkpoints, what you're seeing on camera. And then once you start to get more comfortable with that, now do some slow, fluid practice swings where you're really trying to work on that. If you use that training aid, like I said, it'll give you an audible click if something's going on. And you can find that on Amazon. You can just look for, straight left arm training aids, things like that. It's not something you have to have. It can just make it a little bit easier, a little bit faster to train with. I mean, eventually you'd like to be able to take it off and be able to see the results on camera, but something that's kind of giving you some instant feedback, telling you, hey, you're bending your lead arm. It might help you to work things out. But I would only recommend working on this if and only if it's actually helping you hit the ball better. And you have to look at, okay, is this allowing me to hit the ball in the center of the face more often? Is this allowing me to have better ground contact? Am I able to hit the ball before the ground more often? Is my club path, is it neutralizing my club path? Is it stopping me from coming over the top or too much from the inside? basically you have to look at what's going on in impact and see if it's actually helping with that. Otherwise, in general, it's really just a waste of time to work on. There's tons of tour players out there who have bent lead arms. Look at probably the hottest player in golf right now, #1 player in the world, Brooks Koepka. He has a bent lead arm. Look at his swing. Bent lead arm throughout the entire swing. That lead arm is basically bent. Jordan Spieth, bent lead arm. Lee Westwood, bent lead arm. A lot of tour players. I mean, these are high caliber, high rankings, world rankings, major winners that have bent lead arms at impact. So it's not something, it's an absolute must that you have to do. So I would recommend doing what feels comfortable with you for you. But if you are clearly seeing better results from a straight lead arm, then sure, go ahead, work on that. And that's how I work on it. Do slow motion, look at your swing on camera, see where the breakdowns are, pause at these key checkpoints, making sure you have straight lead arm. Start with some slow fluid swings, practice swings, build up to full speed practice swings, making sure that the lead arm is straight throughout the whole time, and then try to add the golf ball and do the same thing at that time. All right, let's move on to the next one here. Let me get a drink here real quick. All right, so Dirk V says, "Hi Q, there is a conception that the more open your hips are at contact, the better you will strike the ball. On the TSP videos, it shows not to open your hips too wide at contact. What are your takes on this?" So I'm not sure what you mean by TSP. I think you meant perception. So basically, everyone will be able to open their hips a varying amount. It's all about how you're using your legs. I will say tour average is about 40 degrees open with the hips. 40 to 50 degrees open is usually what you're going to see on tour. But it doesn't mean that you can't play good golf when your hips not very open or with your hips very open. Everyone's going to be able to open up their hips to varying degrees. There's reasons why, opening up the hips doesn't necessarily give you great contact. You can make good contact without having your hips open. It's more about what it means when you're opening up your hips. So what that means is that you're using your lower body to build momentum. If your hips are coming in and they're stalling out, you're coming into impact and they're pretty much dead straight at the golf ball, square to the golf ball, and they're stalling out, and your hips are actually kind of moving toward the golf ball as you're coming into impact. You're not getting that rotation. That means that you're most likely standing up, right? So you're standing up out of the swing. And when you move further away from the golf ball, what happens? You have to flip the club to get to the golf ball. If you flip the club, you're adding loft to it. It's going to come in very, very shallow. It's going to be hard to get. You're going to hit a lot of thin shots. You're going to hit a lot of thin shots with a lot of loft. So it's going to be super spinny, very high. It's not going to go very far. So it makes it a little bit more difficult. That's why you see most tour players, as they're coming into impact, they've created momentum with their lower body. So the hips are going and they're continuing to accelerate. The torso is going, they're accelerating. The shoulders are going, the arms are going, and then the club goes. And you see at impact, forward shaft lean, body's opened up 40 to 50 degrees, somewhere in there. And everything's releasing out in front. So they've created speed, momentum with their lower body. They put the body in a position to where this club can release out in front. If basically the club's going to release generally in the direction of where your hips are pointing. So if you want this club to release out in front, you most likely need to get those hips to open up. If these hips are coming in and they're pretty square at impact, that's pretty much where they're going to release. They're going to release, kind of out in this area, just out in front. So that's why it's important to get your hips open at impact, because that means that you're creating momentum with your lower body. I talked about that step drill in the beginning of this office hours. That drill is going to be a very good one to get your lower body working a little bit better. So just having your hips open doesn't mean that you're going to hit the ball great, but it's usually an indicator that you're sequencing correctly. So you have to look at it in that sense of it. All right. James Wise says, good morning. Could you please show me the elbow plane? So I'm actually working on ways that I can demonstrate some things or show you some things on video at tour players and also students and stuff like that. When I get that set up, this is going to be very easy. But basically, the way you set up the elbow plane is, number one, you have to have the correct camera angle. So the easiest way to do that, and I'm not going to have the correct camera angle here, because of where the camera is sitting. But the easiest way to do that is just to get a club or an alignment stick, place that thing on the ground, pointing at a target out in the distance. So let's say that my target is this plug-in right here. All right. So I'm going to place that pointed at the plug-in. So there we go. So I've got this pointed at the plug-in here. So that's my target. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up my camera to where it's shooting straight down that alignment stick on the ground that's pointed at the target. Use a club or an alignment stick. And what you do is when you go to set up to the golf ball, you're going to set up to the golf ball to where your hands are directly above that club or alignment stick. So I have my hands right here. I'm directly above it. And I want you to feel like if you had a golf ball in your hands and you dropped it, it would land right on top of it. So that landed on the inside of it. So about right there. There we go. So that's about where you want your hands, directly above that alignment stick. So that's going to put you in the right camera position. Camera should be about waist level. That's not where this camera is. This camera is more at eye level. So I can't show you exactly the right camera angle just based on this. But about waist level is where you want to be, 3-4 feet off the ground, somewhere in that area. You want to be far away enough, which we can't do here either. You want to be far away enough that you and the club never leave the frame of the camera. So as I'm going up to the top, I never want to see this club leaving the frame. So that way you can see it throughout the swing. You could always zoom in on the video to get closer and see things. But if you're too close, there's no way you can zoom out to see everything that you want to see. So be sure to set up the camera correctly. So that's how you set up a down the line video. Now, how to set up the elbow plane. What you do is at address, what you're going to do is you're going to draw a line and use some software like V1 Golf, the app. You can get that for free on any app store. What you're going to do is you're going to draw a line from the hosel of the club here straight up through my trail elbow point, the point of my elbow, and that's the elbow plane. And the reason why you want the elbow plane, and it's not an exact science, but it gives you a relatively good idea of where the proper swing plane is in the swing. That's why the elbow plane is important. So if you draw that elbow plane on there, you can typically see if you're swinging too much underplane, if you're coming over the top, if you're shallowing out the club correctly. If you want your hands to be coming down on that elbow plane, that's at least halfway down the swing. So that's why it's very, very important. So yeah, that's the elbow plane. Very, very easy to set up. Main thing is that elbow plane, in order for it to be the most accurate, that's why I went over how to set up the camera, because in order for that to be very, very accurate, you have to set up the camera correctly. If you have the camera set up, and this is what I see a lot of times in Unlimited Swing Review students, I'll get people that sign up for swing reviews, and then they send me a video where the camera is set up right down the target line. So the video is set up way like that, and then they're kind of standing way over here. Well, I can't really draw the elbow plane on there and get any accurate feeling of what's going on, because what's going to happen is if you can be swinging over the top. So you can be swinging over the top. I draw that elbow plane on there, and it's going to look like you're swinging down on plane, but the reality is that you're over the top. So that's why the elbow plane is important. Make sure you get that set up right. It's very, very easy. Once you do it a couple times, it's super easy. Put that alignment stick on the ground, point it at a target, set up so that your hands are right over that. It's going to be within a few inches of your feet. Set up your hands are right above that. Be far away enough that you can get everything in the frame. Be about waist level, somewhere in that range. It doesn't have to be perfect, but somewhere in that range is going to give you the most accurate elbow plane you can get. All right. So Matthew Yu says, great, thanks so much. Glad I could help. So Dirk V, looks like he's got a follow-up question here. He says, hi, Q. On the downswing, can you explain the sequencing on the left hip, leg, and left heel? Is this coming from the ground up, or is it just first your left leg that move and then your heel, or vice versa? So yeah, it's everything's from the ground up. So you're getting to that. So you can't really move your hips without using, this is your only connection to the ground, right? Is your legs, your feet. So you can't really move your hips without having that ground force. You're pushing into the ground and the ground's pushing back up into you. So it's got to happen from the ground up. So you have to have the lead leg, the lead foot pushing. You have to have pressure going into the ground there, and that's going to help you to push the hip back and out of the way. So it's going to feel like when you're doing that step drill, which I highly recommend doing that step drill. How to start the downswing video. Also from the 20-minute distance fix, there's the sumo step drill. That's also a really good one. But you want to feel like when you're getting to your lead side that there's some flex in this leg and that it's kind of pointed inward. My thigh here, my femur is pointed inward toward my body, so that when I push into the ground, that's going to push my hip back up and out of the way. So if you look at me from this view, I've got a little bit of flex in this leg, and it's angled in toward my body, and I'm pushing into that. So I'm pushing into that, and that's going to allow me to open up my lead hip as I'm coming through impact. So yes, that's exactly what you want to be doing there. It starts from the ground up. You really want to feel like you're punching a hole through the earth with your leg. That's the feeling that you want to have there as you're coming into impact, or as you're starting the downswing for sure. All right. So hi, Q. I've been working on lag, forward shaft lean, working great with irons, but still struggling with driver. I have a tile list that is set up with a draw bias. I'm thinking of messing with the adjustments to bring more neutral, but a little worried that once I start adjusting, I'll be all over the place, trying to stop snap hooks, followed by big pushes. Thoughts. So Gary, one thing is changing that setting on your driver is going to have nothing to do with how much lag you can generate. The other thing is that changing settings on drivers, it's not going to make that much of a difference. If you're snap hooking and blocking shots, it's really not going to make that much of a difference for you. So adjustments on drivers and things like that, people that are going to be able to see a big difference are people that are really calibrated and have a very good awareness of their face and path. So that's going to be like someone who's generally hitting a pretty straight ball. They can draw it when they want to. They can fade it when they want to. And then they put it in a fade setting. And, it's a little bit harder to draw the ball. It's a little bit easier to fade the ball. That's all it really does. It's not going, if you're hitting big snap hooks and blocks out to the right, you're going to tell basically no difference probably between those settings. They're not magic. It's just a very, very small difference that you're going to be able to see. So if you're hitting snap hooks and blocks out to the right, what that means is that your club path is too much into out. So what I mean by that is your path is moving too much in, so inside and then outside. That's what I'm talking about. You're too much into out. So I would actually try to feel like you're hitting more of a cut shot, more of a slice. I try to feel like you're kind of coming over the top a little bit. The reality is you're probably going to be swinging more down on plane, but I want you to feel like as you're coming down that you're cutting across the ball and trying to hit a slice. The best way to fix any issue in golf is to exaggerate the opposite. So what would be the opposite of hitting blocks and snap hooks? That'd be hitting big old slices and pulls. That's basically what it is, because that slices and pulls are a product of a club path that's too much out to in, too much outside to the path to inside. Your club path would be to the left if you're a right-handed golfer. Your club path's too much to the right. So what's happening on the block shots is that your path is to the right and your face is open. It's generally in the same direction as your club path. When you hit the hooks, it just means that your path is to the right and your face is closed to the path. So your face may be dead square. Maybe that ball's starting straight, but it's snap hooking on you. That means that your path is out to the right and your face is probably pretty square to the target. The other thing that can cause those are toe strikes. So if you strike it out on the toe a little bit, it's going to tend to want to draw a little bit more. If you hit it way on the toe, it may want to hook a little bit more. Same thing goes for heel strikes. It'll cause a little bit more of a fade or even a slice if it's a big time heel strike. So, excuse me. So that's why I recommend working on getting this path to work more over the top. There's a great course on the website called the Never Hook Again course. I know that you may not be hooking every single time. You're hitting blocks too, but basically the blocks are a product of the same issue that the snap hooks are. It's just your face is in a little different direction. So, and hey, if you'd like me to take a look at your swing, we do offer an unlimited swing review program. I can take a look at your swing and tell you exactly what's going on. We use some software. It's called V1 Golf. And I'm hoping eventually I can get something set up in here so I can kind of show you exactly, how those work. But essentially, I'm on there. I'm doing a voiceover. I'm drawing lines on your swing, telling you exactly what you need to do. So I highly recommend that if you're wanting to kind of accelerate your progress. If you're interested in the swing review program, in the upper right-hand corner of the page, it says Get a Review. Go ahead and click on that. It'll take you to the page and show you what it's all about. And you'll be able to sign up there if spots are available. That's the other thing, too, is spots aren't always available. Robin and myself, we only have a limited number of people that we can work with. So sometimes we fill up and we don't have spots available. So if that's the case, go ahead and join the waiting list. And as soon as we get a chance, we'll shoot you off an email so that you can sign up for it at that time. And again, it's first come, first serve. So if you're at all interested, go ahead and get in there and get signed up. But yeah, I would work through that Never Hook Again course. If you want help with that, don't hesitate to ask one of us, in our Unlimited Swing Review program. All right. So Ronnie D says, have a tendency to pull my shots. After reviewing recordings, I see that sometimes in the backswing, I come slightly too much to inside. Could this be the cause of a pull? So let's talk about how bringing the club too much inside can cause a pull, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it will. So just to kind of show you here. So if you are pulling the ball and you're bringing this club way inside, what can happen is when you bring this club way inside, you've got momentum kind of moving in this direction at the top of the swing. So let me I probably have that angle down too much. There we go. So you're bringing this club too much inside. It's more like that. So as you're reaching the top of the swing, you're here, and there might be momentum that's going that way. And that makes the club path move out to in and cause like an over-the-top type motion. So over-the-top type motion, club path that's moving out to in, that's the cause of a pull shot. A pull shot is caused by a club path, so the direction the club head is moving through impact, that's too much out to in. If you're a right-handed golfer, that's going to be a club path that's moving to the left. And when you pull the shot, it just means that your face is in line with your club path. So your face and your path are basically in the same direction. So it's going to go in that direction with not a lot of curvature. So that's where you get that pull shot, as the club face is closed and the club path is also to the left. If you're a right-handed golfer, they're in the same direction. That's going to cause the pull. So how do you fix that? Let's get this club working more into out. Get it working more out that way. The easiest way to fix any issue is to exaggerate the opposite. What's the opposite of a pull? Be a block or a push shot. So trying to get that ball to start way off to the right without any curvature. Maybe even get that ball to start to the right and curve to the left a little bit. Hit some little draws that start out to the right. That means that your club path is moving into out. And then at that point, all you got to do is ease off that feeling to straighten it out. So if you'd like to learn how to get that club path moving more into out, I go to that Never Slice Again course. Now I know you're not slicing. Maybe sometimes you are, but you mentioned that you are, hitting the pulls. A product of the same issue, a club path that's too much out to in. Go to that Never Slice Again course. Work through the drills. But if you're clearly seeing that the club is coming to the inside and then there's momentum from that club head moving in that direction, it may be beneficial for you to work on getting a takeaway that's more on the opposite. It's more outside the hands as you're going up, because then what happens? Then you get momentum that can move this way, which can help you get your club path moving more into out. So there's a great drill. I believe it's on the website. I think it's one of Robin's videos. Really good video. I really like it as far as takeaway is concerned if you're having some issues with the takeaway. But basically what you do is you just take a club or an alignment stick here, and you just put it on the ground here. And so here's would be your target line right here. But this club, is, you can see how it's kind of angled out that way. And I have it on my front foot here, but it's angled away from my trail foot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going up to the top here. I'm going to stop about halfway up when this club's parallel to the ground. And I'm going to make it line up with that club that's on the ground. Now look at the club is very outside my hands. I'm going to pause right there, and I'm going to continue at the top and swing from the inside. So once I get kind of comfortable with that, getting this club to work more outside the hands, now I'm going to do some slow fluid swings. Where I'm going to go out, I'm trying to match that up, and I'm swinging through. Once you get comfortable with that, try to add the golf ball and do the same thing. I think the video is called, how to take away like Jason Day or Ricky Fowler or something like that. Just search Fowler, and I'm sure you'll find that takeaway drill. Just search the word Fowler. I'm pretty sure that he mentions Ricky Fowler in the drill, because that's just exactly how Ricky Fowler and Jason Day swing the club. But you have to see that there's a clear momentum taking this club over the top. If there isn't, then it's not necessarily, an inside take. You can bring the club back way inside and still bring the club on the inside on the downswing. Go look at J.B. Holmes' swing. You're going to see way inside takeaway, and then you're going to see him shallow it out in the downswing and bring it from the inside on the downswing. It doesn't mean there just has to be clear momentum. You have to see, okay, inside, and then there's clear momentum moving in that direction. And if you're not sure, like I said, we offer Unlimited Swing Review program. I'm really good at spotting these things. Join my Unlimited Swing Review program, and I can take a look and tell you, okay, yeah, work on the takeaway. Probably be a good thing for you to work on. If not, it may just be good for you to just focus on the downswing, getting that club to work more from the inside in the downswing to get rid of those pull shots. So, Ronnie, hopefully that helps. And you can go check out that video that I mentioned. Let me get a drink real quick. All right. So can I explain? So William L. asks, can you explain what supinate the wrist means? So basically there's pronation and supination. So pronation would be inward movement. So my thumbs are moving inward toward my body. And then so I'm pronating the wrists as I'm going like this. And then supination would be outward movement. So the wrists are turning outward away from your body. And that's with basically any joint. Your leg can internally rotate and externally rotate. That's pronation, supination. That's how it works with all of them. So again, pronation inward, supination outward. That's what that means. Mike L says, who among you, Clay, and Robin is a better golfer? That's a good question. I would say probably Clay for sure. Actually, definitely Clay. Clay's probably about a +3 handicap right in that area. Robin hasn't been able to play much, so I might actually be a little bit better than Robin. Robin just had his first child. He has been strapped down, so he hasn't been able to play or practice much at all. So right now I might be able to beat Robin, but usually it's Clay, Robin, and then myself. We got some great golfers on our team too. Other guys that aren't even instructors that are great players too. But yeah, I would say if we all had the equal amount of time to practice and work on things, it would be Clay, Robin, and then myself. So Michael Z says, even though I spend a lot of time aiming and use a spot on the ground, everything seems to start left of my intended target. So that just means that you're closing the face too much as you're coming into impact. So I'd actually do some training where you're trying to get the ball to start to the right, way to the right. go to the extreme. Try to get the ball to start 45 degrees off to the right. Make sure there's nobody standing over there. But yeah, try to get the ball to start, have the ball so open, have the face so open, feel like you're really holding off the face as you're coming through there. Try to get that ball to start way off to the right. And then once you get it to start way off to the right and you get comfortable with that, now start feeling like, okay, I want it a little bit less to the right, and try to start to ease off of it to get to straighten out again. So that's what I'd recommend. It just seems like you're coming in, you're probably just closing that club face way too much as you're coming into impact, which is making that ball start to the left. So James B says, 85 yards from the flag on 2 par 5s and walked away with 2 double bogeys. What videos do you recommend for short irons? So 85 yards, I would recommend going to our Top Speed Golf wedge system, or I would just look at your swing and see what's going on there. Well, what happened? If you want to give me a little bit more feedback on that, what happened on those shots? You mentioned that you walked away with 2 double bogeys, so I assume that 85-yard shot, something happened there. Was it chunk? Was it slice, hook, top, thin, blade? Like, what happened on those shots? You want to look at what's going on at impact. That it could be anything that's happening, and I just want to make sure that I'm giving you the right advice to be able to go work on it. It sounds 85 yards to me that that's a wedge. I don't know. You mentioned short irons, so maybe you don't have a lot of distance, but really the same thing happens with all full swings. It's just a matter. It's likely there's a breakdown somewhere in there, but you gotta let me know what's going on at impact so that I can help you out the most. It could be anything that's going on, like what happened, what caused you to make that double bogey. You could have got it on the green and you hit a poor putt, several poor putts or something like that. So go ahead and shoot me over some more feedback there, and I'll try to help you the best I can. All right. So go ahead and post your questions on here. Like I said, we got about 18 more minutes here. Hopefully James is still on here and he can give me some more feedback on what's going on with his 85-yard shots. But yeah, this is the place where you can get your questions answered. So go ahead and ask your questions on here. If I don't have any questions answered, then you get to watch me answer emails, which is no fun. I don't think anybody wants to do that on their Friday. So go ahead and ask some questions and we'll get them answered the best I can here. All right. So it looks like we got a question here real quick. Get back to the right page. There we go. So Paul H says, I was taking my club straight back on my backswing, but that caused me to fade the ball. Now I'm concentrating on rotating my hips on the backswing, and this seems to be better because the swing is on a better path. So awesome. That's it's really about how to hit. You're trying to get the club in the right place. So the way that you move your body to make that happen might be a little bit different than someone else. If you look on PGA Tour, not everyone's golf swing looks the exact same. Where you're going to see PGA Tour's golf swings look very, very similar is from basically halfway down into impact. That's where you see pretty much all tour players. It almost looks exactly the same, all of them. But how they get there, how they get the club to that position is very, very, it's going to be very, very different amongst all players. And that's just because everybody's built a little bit differently. So you may need to feel like you're turning your hips more in the backswing. Maybe you weren't turning your hips much at all, and that was causing you to kind of go like that. And maybe turning the hips a little bit more helps you to swing the club more from the inside and get rid of those fades. So, it's hard to say without seeing your swing, but you have to do, you have to move your body in a way that helps you to hit the ball the best. And it sounds like you did that. So nice job on that. Basically it comes down to the Top Speed Golf system, right? So if you look at all tour players, they're all doing all the pieces of the Top Speed Golf system in varying ranges. There's an acceptable range there, but they're all doing it. They're all set up, pretty much, somewhere between vertical and angled away. You're not going to see any tour players leaning toward the target at address, but anywhere between vertical and angled away is where you're going to see all tour players. It's not as important at address where you are. It's more about what's going on at impact. But what you will see with all tour players is you're going to see an 18 to 25 degree angled away with the spine at impact. That is definitely what you're going to see there. So you're also going to see a great shoulder turn to varying degrees. Not all tour players have huge shoulder turns, but every single one of them is getting about 90-degree turn. Average tour shoulder turn is about 118 degrees. That's the average. So that's something you're always going to see. All tour players are going to be generating lag to varying degrees. Some players have a lot more. You may see a Phil Mickelson or Sergio Garcia where they have, it looks like this club is like this at that point in the swing, and you're going to see a guy like Adam Scott who's got that much lag. But you're never going to see a tour player casting the club. It just doesn't happen. You never see that. You're also going to see all tour players have a compression line that's within reason. You'll see some of them are a little bumped out. None of them you're going to see where they're really, really bumped out and not rotating the hips at all. You're going to see maybe some, like a Jason Day is a little bit bumped out on some of those, and you're going to see just a little bit of that, but really not very much. But yeah, straight line release, you're going to see all of them releasing this club out in front. You're not going to see any tour players releasing the club at the golf ball. You're going to see all tour players are releasing that club out in front anywhere within 28 to 50 some degrees is where you're going to see that. So definitely work on those pieces. Those are the pieces that matter the most. All right, so it looks like we got some questions here. And again, we got about 12 minutes, so get your questions on here if you want to get them answered. Otherwise, next office hours is Monday at the same, or it will be 3 p.m. on Monday. So Dan M says, I have no mobility in my right wrist. Can you suggest how to modify your swing? So you're saying that you can't move your wrist at all. Well, I'll say, it's going to be hard. It's going to be difficult for you. There really isn't any, if you can't move the wrist at all, basically, if you have to keep it in this position, it's going to be hard to get very much speed. So basically, you're going to be limited as far as speed is concerned. You're going to be limited as far as generating some forward shaft lean and things like that. There really isn't any modification that you need to make. It's just a matter of understanding you can only do what you're physically capable of. So to get to an impact position where your lead wrist is angled back, that's ideal for good forward shaft lean. If you can't do that and you have to come into impact like this, well, you're going to have kind of a scoopy action. So just keep in mind that you're going to hit some scoopy shots. You're going to hit some. You're going to need to work on, your ground contact, really making sure that you're good with that. Making sure you get a good weight shift. That's going to be very, very important, because if you don't have right wrist, any mobility there, you're going to probably struggle with chunks and thins. So make sure that you're getting to your lead side. The weight shift is going to be very, very important for you. I would also try to make sure that you're trying using the legs as much as you can to rotate and open up the body, so that you can get at least some amount of forward shaft lean there, even though your wrist isn't very flexible. So really, it's no different. You still have to make the club do the same thing as somebody else. So it's just a matter of you're going to have to pay more attention to your ground contact, because that's probably going to be the biggest piece. Is you're going to be hitting a lot of chunks and thins most likely. So working on getting that good weight shift, working through that stop chunking and topping section, that's going to be a really good one. to make sure that there's a great weight shift drill in there. And again, it's a step drill, making sure that you're doing that step drill to get in the right place. Make sure you're getting that ball first contact all the time. That's what I'd recommend. So David W says, if nobody's going to jump in, I'm going for 2. All right. I always feel like I'm muscling my driver. All other clubs have the nice whip through the hitting zone. Should I reduce tempo with the driver? Is this a common problem? I was fitted for this driver. So essentially, if you feel like you're muscling in a driver, usually everyone's feels are a little bit differently. So I don't know exactly what that feels like to you or what that might feel like to me. But what it sounds like is that you're using a lot of upper body. You need to use your lower body to swing the club to feel like maybe that's what you're doing with your other clubs and not with your driver. So I would try to feel like you're using your lower body a little bit more. Work through our new course, that 20-minute distance fix. Work through that course to work on getting better with your driver. That course is all about gaining club head speed, and you use your driver throughout the whole thing. And I actually got this question the other day about how, do I use this same thing for irons? Well, not necessarily, but if you are raising your club head speed with your driver, your club head speed's it's going to go up with all across the board with everything else too. So what feels faster is going to, what feels slower is going to feel, or actually, let me switch that around. What feels like you're swinging out of your shoes is not going to feel the same as it did before. It's going to feel more, because I tell you what, I've done some speed training. In college, I probably swung around 110. And I tell you what, when I go out and swing 110 right now, that feels sloth-like to me. It feels so slow. I'll take a swing and I'll look at my number and I was like, oh, that felt really, really slow. I'll look at my number and it'll say 110. And that used to be as hard as I could swing, basically. But I've done some speed training over the years, and I've gotten to where my new normal now, I can swing up to 124 miles per hour on my hardest swings, but on my playing speed swings, I'm around 117, 116 now. So it's a matter of finding that new normal for you. So I'd recommend working through that course. That 20-minute distance fix, and to find that on the website, if you go to the instruction tab, it'll expand the menu there. It's the first one on there, 20-minute distance fix. You can also find it by going to the home page, click on that house icon at the top of the page. That'll take you to the home page, and if you scroll down, you'll see all the courses. 20-minute distance fix is right there. I'd highly recommend going through those courses. We're seeing crazy results from a lot of people going through those courses, and those are all ages. Most of them, our members on the website, are older. They're 65, 70 years old. These guys are going through the course and getting huge gains working on that. So it's not just for young people. Don't feel like it's for young people. Your version, you're going to do your own version of the same thing. And that's something I get all the time, is that a lot of people, they mention, we always ask people, if you cancel your membership, hey, what's going on? Why did you cancel the membership? And a lot of people say, they feel like this is for young players. This is not true whatsoever. This is for all ages, everyone. You just got to realize that when you're older, you have a different, maybe who knows what it might be, but whatever it is, you have your own version of what it is. So maybe, you're getting an 80-degree shoulder turn right now. Well, getting a 90-degree shoulder turn would help you a ton, but maybe you're someone who's getting a 110-degree shoulder turn. Well, getting a 120-degree shoulder turn would help you a ton. It's just a matter of you have the same drills are going to work for you. It's just maybe going to look a little bit different for you than it does for Clay, or it does for me, or it does for a tour player. You just have to do your own version of it. It's going to help you to do that. So keep that in mind whenever you're working on anything on here. It's just a matter of your version of it may look a little bit differently depending on your ability level, your flexibility level, your body type, things like that. So you just got to keep every little bit helps. You just got to keep working on it and making it a little bit better. So again, we got about 5 minutes left here. If you got any questions, otherwise you got to wait for the whole weekend to get your questions answered. We'll be back here Monday, 3 p.m. Eastern in the afternoon to answer more questions. So I wouldn't say, David, I wouldn't say necessarily reduce your tempo or or anything like that, I would work. It sounds like you're not using your lower body. It sounds like you're using mostly arms, and that's kind of why you feel like you're muscling it and things like that. Work through that 20-minute distance fixed course. It's going to help you get your lower body more involved. You're going to be swinging with 100% effort, and it's going to help you to feel like you're not muscling it so much. You're using your whole body to hit the ball. So Kedron P, and I apologize if I mispronounced your name, but says, I have an issue judging the distance of my irons. Lately, I've been clubbing up and taking off on my swing. Is that an okay strategy or something I need to fix? Any tips on dealing with distance with irons? So, first of all, I don't know if you're a beginner or, anything like that, but essentially, learning the distance of your irons, it just takes time to kind of get that figured out. I actually recently got new clubs and I've gained club head speed. So my irons, I don't have them dialed in. I have a general idea of how far I'm hitting everything. Right. So Kedron, you're a beginner. That just comes with time, buddy. It just takes time to develop that. It takes playing out on the course to figure that out. It might be good just to kind of, hopefully you can go to a range. A lot of ranges these days that have, top tracer or something like that. You can hit all the clubs in your bag and see kind of, what's going on there, how far you're hitting everything. I wouldn't recommend, trying to lower your swing and raise the clubs or anything like that. Take a full swing at it. Take your full stock swing. See how far your full stock swing goes. And go through the whole bag. Hopefully you got something. If not, there might be, hopefully the range that you can go to has yardage markers out there so you can kind of see exactly how far things are going and things like that. But mostly it comes from, having a general idea of how far things go and then hitting, playing and hitting the shots and realizing, okay, maybe you hit your 9-iron, you hit it good, and it was to a green that's 140 yards, and you went over the green. Well, if you hit it good, that means that you hit your 9-iron over 140 yards. Maybe it's 150 yards, and maybe on the next hole you have 150 yards to the hole, and you hit it good again, and it lands 5 yards short. Well, now okay, it's about 145. That's about what my 9-iron is, and then you can kind of understand as you're playing more and learning more. You're going to understand exactly how far those things go. But you're going to go through some growing pains at first. It just takes time to figure that out. I think anybody who's on here who's been playing golf for a long time knows that in the beginning, man, you just don't really know. You just kind of have to guess and understand exactly how that works, basically. So you just got to go out there, play on the course, see how far everything's going, kind of make a mental note of it every time. You can even use a notebook and do that, and it can help you out quite a bit moving forward. So, Kedron, that's what I'd recommend for you. The best way to do it is if you just went, if you went to a driving range, hopefully they have some top tracer technology or something like that. You can go through your whole bag and kind of hit 5 shots with every club. You can kind of see, okay, and take out the ones that you didn't hit good. Like if you didn't hit one good, I would throw it out and I would hit another one. Try to hit 5 that you hit pretty solid and see how far they all go. And then kind of just make a mental note. Typically, you're going to have 10, 15 yards between every single club. So if you kind of use that general rule, it really depends on your club head speed, but club head speed's lower. It might be a little bit, might be 8, 10 yards between every club. But yeah, that's what I'd recommend doing. That'll help you out quite a bit. So David W says already on it, just trying to buy a scope. I see for club head speed. Yeah. So David W is talking about buying a scope for measuring your club head speed. So you can use about anything. I highly recommend that if you go through that course, you can go through it without something measuring your club head speed. I tell you what, I think you're gonna make a larger improvement if you have something, and also it's way more fun to do it when you can see what your club head speed is. So that way you can know, okay, I'm really gonna beat that number on the next swing, because that's what you're trying to do. You got 5 swings, and you're going all out 100% effort on the swings, you're trying to beat every swing, trying to get the new highest number every time that you go out. So highly recommend getting something like that. The most accurate device that we've ever tested as far as consumer use is concerned, comparing them to $18,000 machines like FlightScope X3 or GC Quad, is the SC200, the Swing Caddy 2. That one, it's very, very accurate. I highly recommend that machine. It gives you your club head speed. It can also give you your ball speed. Gives you an estimated distance. Keep in mind, it is estimated. Do not expect it to be super accurate. It is estimated. What is accurate on it is the club head speed. It was very, very close. So highly recommend getting that. There's also another device, the Swing Speed Radar. It just gives you club head speed. So highly recommend that as well. It works pretty well. It's a little less expensive. It's quite a bit less expensive. I think it's about $100. That Swing Speed Radar. The Swing Caddy 2 is I think it's $280 or $290 or something like that. So it's a little bit more expensive, but you're getting ball speed. It's a more accurate device. And when I say accurate, it's accurate in the sense is that it's giving you the right number. What all the devices basically that we tested, even like the ZEP and Blast Motion and things like that, of all the devices that were tested, maybe the number they were giving you wasn't accurate, but if you were making a gain, it was telling you the correct number of gains. So maybe our FlightScope was saying, okay, you're swinging 100 miles per hour, but maybe this ZEP is saying you're swinging 105 miles per hour. Well, if you gained 3 miles per hour, our FlightScope says, okay, you went from 100 to 103, and the ZEP would say you went from 105 to 108. And that's really the big thing there, is we want to see the increase, where you're coming from. You're trying to beat your best numbers. So no matter what device you use, pretty much all the devices that we've tested do that, and that's really the most important thing. So highly recommend getting one of those devices to go through the program. But like I said, you don't have to have it. It just makes it a little bit easier. So Charles F. Says, inconsistent contact. And this will be the last question of the day. We're past 10 a.m. here. Just want to get this real quick for Charles. Charles says, inconsistent contact. Is stable fluid spine the place to work on better contact? Most likely. That's really the number one key to consistency. If you're kind of moving all over the place, then it could be that, but there could be other things that are going on as well. Maybe your spine is stable, but you're cutting across the ball, your club path's way off, or there's all kinds of things that be going on. Again, Unlimited Swing Review program. If you want to check that out, that's a place to go. But yeah, that could be stable fluid spine might be it, but it's hard to say without really knowing for sure. And maybe that you just don't have a real great awareness of your club face. You may need to work on some variability training, working on trying to hit different parts of the club face. So depending on whatever, if it's heel and toe strikes, you're all over the club face, things like that, I would actually try to hit some shots and see where your tendency is. Most people have a tendency to be in the toe or in the heel or something like that. So I would see where your tendency is and then try to adjust your feeling to get the desired result that you want. So let's say your tendency is, hey, I'm hitting a lot of heel strikes. Well, most of my strikes are kind of on the heel side of the face. Well, that means you have a tendency to be right in here. What I'd recommend doing is intentionally try to hit the ball off the toe. And what will happen is, most likely, is that you're going to get that strike moving closer to the center of the face. And if it doesn't, if it's still in the heel, then exaggerate that even more. Adjust your feeling even more to get that desired result. Now, if you actually strike it out on the toe, then at that point, all you have to do is ease off of it. And once you get to where you can adjust your feeling to get the desired result that you want, now let's try to do some variability training where you're intentionally hitting the ball off the toe, intentionally striking the ball off the heel, intentionally striking off the center of the face. You can even go low on the face, low toe. There's 9, kind of quadrants that you can go into, high heel, low heel, mid heel. You can look for all of these and try to intentionally hit all of these on the face. And if you do that and go through that, it's going to give you such a good awareness of the club face. So that's something you can try. That's something we do in our ball striking masterclass. And we're going to be offering that after the Open Championship at some point. So if you're interested in working on your ball striking, and taking a break from working on technique, I highly recommend that course. I think every single person, no matter your ability level, should go through that course. Even if you are a very high handicap player, you can go through that course. The only person that might not be for is someone who's a tour player who already knows and is working on those things. That would maybe be the only person I would say that course is not for. But I guarantee you, there's probably a lot of tour players that really don't know this stuff or understand this stuff that would highly benefit from it as well. So, highly recommend that ball striking masterclass. Again, we'll be offering that after the Open Championship. Be on the lookout in your email for the opportunity to enroll. So, everybody have a great weekend. Thanks for joining me. I'll be back here 3 p.m. Eastern time on Monday. Everybody have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you next time.